Okay, hello and welcome to GamerCal's first narrated video. First up is against Xous from the PokeBeach forums. Now, we had two games already before this, the first of which ended in hacks, and the second one was a disconnect. So we did know each other's teams quite well at this point. So, of course, we knew each other's leads and we knew what we could do at the start, so it was predictable first couple of turns. But it got interesting later on. That's why I'm having a go at narrating this. So he leads with Yuxi against my Jirachi, which we already knew Yuxi was faster than Jirachi and we both had Stealth Rock, so that's fair enough. He yawns and I wish because I've got nothing better to do in the turn he yawns. So I can U-turn now and get away from the yawn perfectly fine. And because he's gone to Donphan, I decide to go to Suikun so that I've got some form of advantage at least. It turns out that Xous doesn't switch nearly as often as I would expect, and he stays into Rapid Spin here, which is a bit annoying because I reflect and don't actually damage him. He switches out now, however, and goes to Gyarados when I Ice Beam, not wanting to surf on an obvious switch of Water type or something. Ice Beam still does basically nothing to Gyarados, however, and with leftovers it's obviously bulky, so we know Taunt is probably coming, Dragon Dance is going to come after that. Mesprit has got Thunderbolt, so I don't need to have non-damaging attacks, so it made a decent switch. So I Thunderbolt on the Dragon Dance, which is great, it deals, 80% or something? And that forces him to attack now or switch. And because I still have Reflect up, it's max HP, defense, bold, it's really not taking any damage from Waterfall at all, even though it's +1. So Gyarados goes down really early in the game, and that's good, because it could have been a big problem if it stayed alive. So Ninjas comes in now. That surprised me quite a lot, because I've already seen Togekiss in a previous game, so Ninjas being there as well, that made 3 Rockweed Pokés in the same team, and that generally isn't a good idea. But it's here, and so I have to deal with that instead. And I'm basically attacking it whilst it subs, not giving it a chance to stay, to get Swords Dance or anything down. And it's got leftovers, so it's not passing any berries, which is probably just as well with the speed it'll be passing. I got 2 crits in a row there, which if under subs is pretty pointless. But he passes out now, and for some reason he decides after a while to go to Yuxi. Which really took me by surprise, because Yuxi wasn't doing any form of damage to my team whatsoever. Because I could U-turn away from Yawn, and Jirachi was never taking anything from Yuxi regardless. But having seen Thunderbolt in the previous game, I decided to try and go to Jolteon because its choice specs were Shadow Ball. But it turns out it's got Psychic as well, and being hit by that on the switch was annoying. But I could still get one shot before I had to switch back out, so I dealt a good 70% of damage to it first, then switched to Jirachi. Jirachi was taking literally nothing from this. It 4 times as its Psychic, and Thunderbolt was barely going to scratch it without stab or special attack EVs. So I could freely use Wish as it tried to yawn me, do whatever to me, and I could get away with murder basically. And he yawned again. I think that was a misclick on that turn. But regardless, I U-turn out so I can get the Wish to Jolteon and get its HP back up, which I think proved quite useful later on in this game. But, of course, I know he's going to Psychic again, so I just switch straight back out to Jirachi. And at this point, he finally decides to switch Yuxi out, and brings in Togekiss, as I wish. Now, here, I was hoping he would Thunder Wave, because Thunder Wave would have probably shut down Jirachi, but, of course, he's played me already with this team. He's going to Aura Spear instead because the Jolteon switch was obvious, but it still doesn't KO, and I wish right back up to where I was. And again, from a previous game he didn't switch out, so I Thunderbolt this one even though Donphan is still just about KO again, about 75% of damage, and I have a good chunk of health left from the Aura Sphere attack, and he keeps Togekiss in. So thankfully there's no hacks against me this time. Useless crit there, but there's been 3 of those for me in this game. Okay, so Ninjask comes back in, and completely forgetting that I have Roar on Suicune, I go to Scissor so that I can Bullet Punch it, remove the sub and stop it passing. Yet, again, for some stupid reason, I decide to Swords Dance here as it Swords Dances as well, which was really pointless because it means I can only break the sub as he passes, so he still gets the pass off. And he goes to Donphan, which I know has Fire Fang from the last game we played. I don't want to risk a potential burn on the Pokemon I want to revenge it with, so I just do what damage I can with Bullet Punch and get completely wasted by a +2 Fire Fang. So in comes Salamence, which is a Scarf one, obviously, and its Draco Meteor will KO Donphan very nicely. It's really handy to KO Donphan with that move right there, because Donphan isn't the fastest of things, but with the +2 speed and the attack power, could have been rather damaging. Anyhow, he brings Yuxi back in, and not wanting to risk potential hacks again, and I couldn't kill it with a -2 Draco Meteor, I decide to switch out, but he yawns anyway. He switches back to Ninjask as I U-turn. I guess I have to U-turn, and he was trying a 4 times resist, but it really didn't work at all. And Suicune comes in just because it's the biggest defensive thing I have here. Now, it does what damage it can and dies, basically, which is fine by me. It's a good position for me to be in this fight. So, in comes Infernape. This is the one guy I hadn't seen in all of the games we played so far, and yeah, it was a good job I had Suicune, because Infernape could have damaged me a lot more than what it did. But I didn't have Stealth Rock in the game, which was annoying because it had Focus Sash. So 4 of his guys were completely wrecked by Stealth Rock, and I couldn't keep it on the board enough to actually damage them. But oh well, that's the way it goes sometimes. So the last guy he's got is Yuxi, and Suicune is as good as dead here. I've basically just let it go so that I can bring in Jolteon and revenge kill it as the last shot. And that's really just the game there. It's 4-0 finish, good game Xous, and we'll play again at some point soon. Until next time, thanks for watching.